In this biology lesson on origin and evolution of life, an introduction to classification, we will explore the origin of life, organic evolution, classification, and an introduction to viruses. Earth was created 5 billion years ago. Scientists have proposed several theories to explain life's origin. According to chemosynthetic theory, water played a vital role in kickstarting life on Earth. Billions of years ago, Earth's early atmosphere had no oxygen, but it did have methane, ammonia, and other compounds. As heavy rains poured down on our young planet, these water bodies filled up. The seawater dissolved atmospheric methane and ammonia, leading to the formation of biomolecules like proteins and nucleic acids. It's time for some stages of life's evolution to take the center stage. In stage 1, energy sources like UV rays, lightning, and heat transformed simple chemicals into amino acids. In 1953, scientists Stanley Miller and Harold C. Urey conducted a groundbreaking experiment where they created amino acids from a mix of gases using an electric discharge. In stage 2, simple chemicals joined forces, forming peptides, sugars, carbohydrates, and fats. In stage 3, these large molecules got even more complex, encased within fatty membranes called coursovate droplets. These droplets could move around and act as precursors to cells. And finally, in stage 4, the addition of DNA reactions and nucleic acid replication allowed primitive cells to form. Heterotrophic life forms, like little drop organisms, emerged, feeding on their surroundings. Some ancient organisms underwent genetic mutations that led to the evolution of chlorophyll-bearing life forms. These special organisms could harness solar energy to produce food and release oxygen. This oxygen eventually transformed our planet, paving the way for the diverse life we see today. That is how life began and flourished on Earth. Life, as we know it, has evolved over billions of years. Evolution is the gradual change of simple ancestral species into complex organisms over geological time. It's like a never-ending story of adaptation and survival. Imagine this: long, long ago, there was a common ancestor from which all modern organisms evolved. From tiny microorganisms to magnificent creatures, we are all connected. To understand how evolution works, we have some fascinating evidence. Let's explore them. First, we have morphology, which is the study of the form and structure of organisms. Many species share similar organs that have evolved from common ancestors. Homologous organs may look and function differently, but their underlying structure remains the same. For example, the forelimbs of vertebrates, including humans, bats, and whales, all share a common bone structure. Another piece of evidence is embryology. It's the study of the development of organisms from fertilization to birth. Did you know that the embryos of different vertebrates have striking similarities during early stages of development? Now, let's move on to paleontology. It's the study of fossils, preserved remains of ancient organisms. Fossils provide a glimpse into the past, revealing the existence of extinct species and the gradual changes in living organisms over time. For instance, by studying fossil records, we can trace the evolutionary history of horses, elephants, and even humans. We observe changes in size, adaptations, and dental structures that have occurred over millions of years. Lastly, molecular science gives us a closer look at the genetic connections between different organisms. We can analyze DNA, proteins, and other biomolecules to uncover evolutionary relationships. By comparing genetic sequences, we can determine how closely related organisms are. For example, humans share a significant amount of genetic similarity with our closest primate relatives, the chimpanzees. Evolution is like a grand puzzle, where species change and adapt over long periods of time. And to make sense of this puzzle, we have something called classification. Classification is all about grouping organisms based on their similarities and differences. Scientists sort organisms to understand their relationships. Taxonomy is a fancy term for this classification process. Imagine we are creating a family tree for all living things. It starts with the kingdom, and we humans belong to the animal kingdom. Within the animal kingdom, we have a special group called Chodata, which includes animals with backbones. Now, let's focus on our own class, the Mammalia class. Mammals are animals that suckle their young ones, just like we do with our babies. And within the Mammalia class, we find the order called primates, which includes creatures with larger brains and binocular vision. The Hominidae family includes humans and our human-like ancestors. Our genus is Homo, which means we are Homo sapiens, the modern man. Now, let's talk about scientific organisms. Scientific names give us a common language to communicate across different languages and regions. We owe the system of naming organisms to the great scientist Carolus Linnaeus. He introduced binomial nomenclature, which means every species has a two-part name. For example, the scientific name for a mango is Mangifera indica, and for us humans, it's Homo sapiens. Remember, scientific names are often italicized or underlined when written. And they usually have Greek or Latin origins, making them easier for scientists around the world to understand. Now, let's explore the fascinating world of prokaryotes and eukaryotes. Prokaryotes, like bacteria, were the first forms of life on Earth. They have simple cells without a nucleus. They paved the way for more complex organisms to come. On the other hand, eukaryotes, like us, have well-defined nuclei in our cells. Finally, let's meet the 5 kingdoms of life: Monera, Protista, fungi, plantae, and animalia. Each kingdom has its own unique characteristics. In the kingdom Monera, we find prokaryotic and unicellular organisms like bacteria and cyanobacteria. They may be tiny, but they play a crucial role in our ecosystem. In the kingdom Protista, we have unicellular eukaryotes like amoeba and diatoms. They are like the tiny superheroes of the microscopic world, with cilia, flagella, or pseudopodia to help them move around. Moving on to the kingdom Fungi, we find fascinating organisms like mushrooms and yeast. They are heterotrophic, meaning they get their energy from decaying organic matter. They are like nature's recyclers. Now, let's enter the beautiful kingdom Plantae, where we find multicellular organisms that can perform photosynthesis, like the mighty mango tree. They are the superheroes of converting sunlight into food. Finally, we arrive at the diverse kingdom Animalia, where we find amazing creatures like us. From simple organisms to complex beings with specialized organs, animals come in all shapes and sizes. Now, let's talk about viruses. These tiny creatures, made up of genetic material wrapped in a protein coat, can cause diseases like influenza, polio, and even AIDS. But here is the catch: viruses can't reproduce on their own. They need to sneak into a host cell and hijack its machinery to make copies of themselves. They are always mutating and changing their infective properties, making it challenging for scientists to develop a cure for diseases like the flu. Classification is like sorting all the living organisms into different groups based on their similarities and differences. It helps us make sense of the incredible variety of life on our planet. Viruses don't fit neatly into any of the 5 kingdoms because they can't reproduce independently. They're like mysterious creatures that exhibit both living and non-living features. Finally, let's remember that viruses and their impact go beyond just diseases. Certain viruses can even cause cancers, and there are tiny circular RNA molecules called viroids that infect plants and disrupt their growth. Nature is full of surprises. That brings this lesson to an end. For additional information on this lesson, please look at the content below the video in the online course. To get a list of the important questions and their answers for this lesson, please refer to the guidebook by our publications provided to you with this course for free. It shows you a list of all the questions that have the highest chance of coming in your next exams based on research carried out on previous year question papers. All the best, and I'll see you in the next lesson.